Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are doing fine, safe, and healthy as always. Good afternoon, Vahini. Good afternoon, Chaturya, Shavya. Good afternoon, Hinducha, Raju. Good afternoon, everyone, beta. I hope all of you are good and healthy. Good afternoon, Karthik. Nice to see you. Good afternoon, Ravindra. I think you are coming for the first time, Ravindra. Saw you for the first time, probably. Is that so? No, sir. Probably you don't send messages. That's why, beta. Uh, Messages from messages. I remember I have logged in. Okay, Ravindra. I'm sorry. I did not notice you. Sorry, you probably did not answer me. Maybe did not send any message. I did not see you. Be active in the class. That's it. Coming back to the point of sending messages, beta. I must again remind you that I have logged in by two IDs. Yes, Santosh. Good afternoon. Do not send messages on my Astik Udenia Wala ID. Just send messages on my Astik ID, which is my iPad ID. I must remind you, the mic is off, the video is off. This is just to listen to you, what you are saying. Last day, we had around 200 to 250 messages. I want every one of you to send message, every one of you to let me know what you understood or what you don't. Please don't feel shy. There's nothing to be shy. There are things that I don't know. There are very simple things that I might not know. So if you think that your doubt is not good enough, even if you ask, even if you can ask me, just afternoon, good afternoon. Moreover, your chats are coming in personal messages to me. So no one knows what you're asking me. So please don't be shy. You can ask anything that you have not understood. Good afternoon, Sai, Dashak, and I will be replying you. If by chance I miss your chat, you can again send a message. Good afternoon, Deepak. Coming back to our class, let us first start. I think the time is already on. Let us first start with a quick recap of what we had done, because in today's class we will be solving some questions. As I told you, we will be solving DPP. And I think Hanak, are you there in the class? I saw your name in the participants. Hanak, are you there? Okay, you might not be there. We might not have joined. Okay, so maybe last day I got a, yes, Hanak is there. So I got a message from Hanak, and he was telling me that my DPP that I have prepared are more tough than the DPPs of the previous year questions. That's not the entire point, beta. The point is, if you can solve, again I repeat, and I'll keep on repeating it, if you can only solve 30% of DPPs, remember very nicely, very closely, very important, 30% of DPP is what you are aiming at to solve on your own, and 40% of the solved examples given in the exercise, given in your notes. If you can solve this, I can assure you in writing that you will be able to clear the exam, whether it is JEE, main, advanced, or NEET. Mark my words, beta. The only thing that you need is practice. There would be questions that you probably don't know because you don't know those terms. Planck's constant would be coming, Boltzmann constant would be coming. You can leave them for now. That's why 30%. You can leave them from now. As soon as you grow older, by older I mean you come forward in the class, we'll be getting used to all those terms, and you will be able to solve almost 80 to 90% of DBP. And once you're able to solve 80 to 90% of DBP, you are assured of a rank in the exams. Mark my words, you are assured of a rank if 80 or 90% of DBP you can solve on your own. Okay, so let me start this class. We'll start with a recap, and since we are almost at the end of this chapter, we'll go back to the We'll go back to the beginning of the chapter and see what we had studied in the recap. So probably yes, Bhavya, we are coming to that. So we had studied what do you mean by units. Do we remember what is units? That was the first thing that we studied. Units are, what are units? Units are comparison standards which are used to compare quantities. Do you remember that? Units are comparison standards which are used to compare physical quantities. Then we had seen physical quantities. What are physical quantities? Anyone? Physical quantities are those quantities that can be measured. Yes, Niharika, you are absolutely spot on. Physical quantities are those quantities that can be measured and they explain some physical phenomena. Then we had seen the various type of physical quantities. The first type was known as ratios, which are pure number. We had also seen some examples of ratios: relative density, refractive index, plane angle, solid angle, all are ratios. They are pure numbers. Then we had seen some quantities which are known as scalars. We had seen the definition of scalars. Yes, Niharika, quantities which only have magnitude and can be completely described by their magnitudes, were scalars. Then we had the third quantity, which was vectors. Yes, Niharika, vectors. So we need both magnitude and direction for their complete description. We had only studied their definition. We'll be studying about scalars and vectors in detail in the coming classes. Then we had also studied that these physical quantities can again be subdivided into two types. One are known as fundamental quantities. Do we remember fundamental quantities? One were known as fundamental, yes, everyone says yes. The other one was known as derived. And we had seen what are fundamental quantities. How many of these were there? How many fundamental quantities were there? There were 7 fundamental quantities plus 2 supplementary units. The supplementary units were plane angle was number 1, solid angle was number 2. So these were the two. Yes, Niharika, plane angle and solid angle were the two supplementary units, and then we had 7 fundamental units, starting with length, mass, time, temperature, electric current, luminous intensity, and amount of substance mole. And I think today in chemistry's class, you were discussing mole, quantity of substance, amount of substance. Yes, Tanushri. So that was the fundamental quantities. Every quantity has a unit. We had discussed 7 fundamental units. We had discussed, yes, Tanu, amount of substance is mole. We had discussed CTS system. We had discussed MKS system, FPS system, and SI system. That was all about systems. Then we had seen some important points about physical quantities. Number 1 was physical quantities can only be compared which are same. Same quantities can be added or subtracted. Different quantities can be multiplied or divided. Then we had some quantities are purely numbers. Do we recollect this much? Okay. Then we had discussed what are dimensions. So every physical quantity, to express that physical quantities, we must raise these physical quantities to some powers. Those powers or those things are known as dimensions. For example, the dimension of length is taken as L. Dimension of mass is taken as M. Dimension of time is taken as T. Dimension of temperature is taken as Kelvin, and so on. We had 7 fundamental dimensions, and then we saw a table of all the fundamental quantities, all the derived quantities that we had to study. The table is already with you. I have given that table to you. Yes, sir, Deepak says. Then we came to the last part of this chapter. And the last part of this chapter was dealing with uses of dimensional analysis. And most of the question on this chapter will be on uses of dimensional analysis. So we'll go through the uses once again and see what the uses were. Use number 1 of dimensional analysis. Please tell me, anyone. I've already have around 60 messages coming to me. Yes, Niharika. The first one was conversion of units. Ravindra, I did not get any message from you. That's why I don't remember you. Conversion of units. Yes, that was the first one. Bhavya, yes, conversion of unit was the first one. We had seen how we can convert one unit to the other unit. Do you want an example here? Can you do an example here for me? Ravindra has left, maybe is out of, maybe there is a problem with the connection. Conversion of unit. So a simple question on conversion of unit, will be solving question. So you convert 5 kg meter per second square. You convert it into gram centimeter per second square. That is the question. We are doing a revision recap and we are doing a question in the recap. Conversion of unit 5 kg meter per second square has to be converted into gram centimeter per second square. Anyone with an answer? I'm waiting. $5,000 multiplied by 3,600 is what Sanvi says. Hinduja says 5 into 10 raised to the power 5. I think Hinduja, you are more correct. So 5 into 10 raised to the power 5. Yes, Chaturya. Yes, Bhavya. Why you are multiplying it by 3,600, Bhavya? I don't understand. Here also you have seconds. Here also you have seconds. From where this 36,000 or 3,600 coming? Right. So basically what you got to do is convert kg into G, so that has to be multiplied by 1,000. Kg has been converted into grams. Then you convert meter into centimeters, so you multiply it by 100 divided by second is here, so you don't have to do anything. So this will be your answer, gram centimeter per second square. So this was our first use conversion of units. Am I clear with this? Once and for all. How did we do it? We just converted from one unit to other. The second one, the second use. What was the second use? Yes, Bhavya. Bhavya, what's the problem? The second use was to check the correctness of an equation. Yes, correct. To check the correctness of an equation. We had used dimensional analysis to check whether an equation is correct or not. And then we had also seen that, small point A, if an equation is dimensionally correct, then two things can happen. What are the two things that can happen if an equation? Yes, Chaturya. Number one, it may be physically correct also. It may be physically correct. Number two, it may not. So both things can happen. It may not be physically correct. It can be physically wrong. We had already seen that. I hope every one of you remember. Do you remember that? We had seen example. Example for number one. Just give an example for number one. Number one was equation is dimensionally correct. It is also correct. You can simply write S is equal to UT plus half AT square. Dimensionally correct. Physically also correct. Then you can write the second example, dimensionally correct, but physically not correct. S is equal to UT plus 1 by 4 AT square. I have changed the number from 1 by 2 to, well, yeah, UT plus AT square is also correct, beta. It is dimensionally correct, but physically wrong. Am I clear with this concept? Uses of dimension analysis, all these small uses will come. Very remember important point, beta. It will come as question in your exam. Please remember them. That's why we are going through them. Then we had seen if an equation is dimensionally wrong, if an equation is dimensionally wrong, then what will happen? Can it be correct ever? It has to be wrong. It has to be physically wrong. An equation which is dimensionally wrong cannot be correct in any circumstance. For example, can you give an example of an incorrect equation? Incorrect equation. Yes, someone gave the example. I just missed your name. S is equal to UT square plus AT. Dimensionally wrong. End of story. Yes, Niharika. Dimensionally wrong. End of story. Equation has to be wrong. That was the second. Yes, Chaturya, correct. That was the second use of dimension analysis to check the dimension of to check the correctness of a equation. Let us go back to the third use. What was the third use? What was the third use? Third use was to get what? Fill up the blanks. Fill up the blanks. To get what? Third use, to get the units and dimensions of unknown quantities. By dimensional analysis, I can find out the units and dimensions of unknown quantities. Do we remember this, beta? Do we remember this? Everyone remembers this? We had used dimension analysis. Yes, Bhavya remembers it, I hope. We had seen how dimension analysis can help us in getting the units. Yes, a very simple example that we had seen was Newton's law of gravitation. G, F is equal to G, M1, M2 by R squared. Here F is force, M1 and M2 are masses, and R was the distance between them. From this, we were able to find out the dimensions and units of gravitational constant. Yes, Anvi, I'm very happy that you remember the dimensions of G. It's a very good thing that you remember. Even if you don't, you can always get it using dimensional analysis. Remember, beta, a very important point for all of you to remember. For NEET, the level of questions is very simple. They will straight away ask you the value of G or the dimensions of capital G. If you can remember, it's very good. Else you can always derive it. Most of the questions that come in NEET, 45 questions, I hope you know, 45 questions will come in NEET. Almost 30 to 35 questions will be straight away ticking. Just tick. You may not have to even use any pen or any calculations. But the same thing cannot be said for JEE mains, and definitely not for JEE advanced. In JEE mains, there are 30 questions, out of which you have to do 25. And then out of those 25, at least 10 to 15 questions will be pretty simple. Only 5 questions will be tough. Only 5. If you can remember simple things, you can very easily clear JEE or NEET. I hope I am very clear. So that is why I'm insisting so much on your fundamental, on your foundations. Remember, as I told you, always 1 or 2 questions will always come from units and dimensions, because it is the basics of physics. That is why we are spending so much time on this, so that we get it right. So that was what? That was the third use of dimensional analysis. Can anyone remember? Does anyone remember what was the fourth use? I have a problem of short-term memory loss, I lose. To find the empirical formula or equation. Yes, Niharika, to find the empirical formula or equation. Very good. We also discussed what do you mean by empirical, to find empirical formula or expression. And then we had seen how we can find this empirical formula. We had seen some examples. Yes, Chaturya, that's correct. Now, again, I will give you a small question on this just to make you rewind your memories and for me to understand that you've understood. So, this is a simple example. I need the empirical formula for this one. So, what do I say? I say that the force acting on a body depends on its mass, its velocity, and its length. Force acting on a body depends on its mass, its velocity, and its length. Then you give me the formula for force, empirical formula. I hope you understand the difference between empirical. Wow. Sanvi is there with an answer straight away, mv square by L. Sanvi, I must tell you that you missed K, which Shravya put, and Shravya came into the leadership board. I saw some videos where they have a leadership board. So Shravya is in the leadership board right now. You cannot miss K, beta. You cannot miss K. That unknown constant K cannot be missed. Not to be missed. I already have 140 chats. That's great. We are responding. Great. So how are we supposed to do this? F is equal to, remember that K, numerical value K into M raised to the power of A into velocity raised to the power of B into length raised to the power of C. And then you simply put the dimensions M, L, T minus 2 is equal to K, M raised to the power A, V raised to the power B, and V, V is L. I must rub it. I made a mistake. Why does this eraser doesn't work? I also got stuck here yesterday on this eraser. Okay, I'll just cut it down and I'll write it here. M L T minus 2 will be equal to K into M raised to the power of A. Velocity is L T minus 1 raised to the power of B. Length is L raised to the power C. Then we equate the coefficients of M. What is the coefficient of M on the left hand side? It is 1. On the right hand side, it is equal to A. So 1 will become A. Then we equate the coefficients of L. On the left hand side, it is 1, as you can see. On the right hand side, it is B plus C. Then we'll equate the coefficients of P. On the left hand side, it is minus 2. On the right hand side, it is minus B. This implies B becomes 2 and C becomes 1. And we have the answer F is equal to K M V square by L. We all understand this? You have to do the same steps over and over again. And you should be good enough. It does not get rub. I don't know what's the problem. Okay, so we can do it that way. C is equal to -1. Yes, I made a mistake. C is equal to -1. Correct. C is equal to -1. Okay, that was the way to find out the empirical formula using dimension analysis. That took us to the last part of that, uses. And then what was the last use? To find, yes, Shravya, to find dimensions of physical quantities in a new system. in a new system. If we make a new fundamental system, we should be able to find out the dimensions of other physical quantities. And to understand this, we can use the similar the similar example that we had used in the last case. The new dimension has mass, velocity, and length as the three dimensions. The new system has mass, velocity, and length as the three dimensions. In this unit, in this system, what will be the dimensions of F? So again, we have to do the similar thing. F will be equal to m raised to the power of a, v raised to the power of b, and L raised to the power of C. Remember, I have not put any K over here. Why I have not put any K over here? Because we are not getting the formula. We are just getting the dimensions in this case. Solving it, we'll get force as mv square by L. So this becomes the new dimensions of force. That is what we had discussed, and that actually completes the entire chapter. But for one or two small things that we must remember in point number 5. There are one or two important things that we have to remember in point number 5. Now I'll give you 2 minutes to think, 1 minute to think. Can anyone tell me what that important thing is that we must remember in point number 5? Limitations. K is not used. Just Ajay, K is not used. When you are talking about limitations, beta, you are talking about limitations of dimension analysis. That are some points that we had discussed, and I shared the PDF with you. So you can use that to find out the limitations. Here, what I am looking at is if I choose a new system, what are the things that I must remember to choose the new system? Okay, I will help you out. Now, when you are choosing a new system, and again here I'm not choosing a new system of 7 fundamental units. I'm only choosing a system of 3 fundamental units. Am I clear? So the system that we are choosing is only of 3 fundamental units. Yes, Anvi, you are on the right track. When we are using a system of 3 fundamental units, what are the things that must be remembered? And you will see that questions of this nature will appear in your exam. When you're choosing any 3 fundamental units, new fundamental units as your unit, what are the points that you should remember? Number 1, what should be number 1? They should not be same. No 2 units should be same with the same dimensions. Yes, I'll add dimensions here so everything becomes clear. So when you are choosing these 3 fundamental units as your unit, they must not have the same dimension, because if they have the same dimension, we will not be able to do anything. For example, if I choose a system with one fundamental quantity as mass, the other fundamental quantity as velocity, and the third fundamental quantity as speed, my question is, can this system work? Is this system correct? If I choose, and as we already said, Hanak says no, Santosh says no. I've already told you that we can use any 3 fundamental units, any 3 physical units as our fundamental units, but there are some points. Sangvi also says no, Karthik also says no. What is the reason that you are saying no for this? So I have created a system. What's the problem with this system? Tell me the problem with this system. The problem with this system is velocity and speed have the same dimensions. Velocity and speed have the same dimensions. This system cannot be used. because it will not give me enough equations. Velocity and speed will always have similar coefficients, so we'll not be able to differentiate between velocity and speed. Are you getting my point? Same dimension, yes, I can't use any such system as my fundamental system which has two similar quantities. Okay, I hope this simple point is clear to everyone. This simple point is going to score a lot of marks, trust me. This simple point is going to score a lot of marks. Okay, small things give you bigger results. That's what I always say. Number two, point number two. Please pay your attention. Point number two. What should be the point number two? While choosing the three fundamental units, what should be the point number two? All the three units must be independent of each other. All the three units must be independent of each other. That means they cannot be derived from each other. Again, this will score a lot of points in your exams, and then you will remember the sir had said that. Please remember, they cannot be derived from each other. Small points. If you can remember them, I hope you are making notes as well. Since I'm writing, so you have time to write as well. You must be writing it in your own hands. You will remember them. I already have 180 messages. Great. Example of this. Shall we example for this? If I have two units that can be derived from each other, that will not make sense. For example, if I have a system where one unit is force, second unit is mass, and third unit is acceleration, force, mass, and acceleration. Can I use this system? No, says Shravya, I can't use this system. No, Hanak also says the same thing. Why, beta? You must give me answer. Why? Why I can't use this system? F, M, and A. Because these are not independent but can be derived from each other. F is equal to MA. So again, if you have any two quantities which can be derived from each other, A is equal to MA, galat likha beta, F is equal to MA. Yes, we have corrected you. Great. F is equal to MA must be independent of each other. One more example, let us take one more example. Let us say I have one unit as force, other unit as length, and the third unit as area. Can I have this fundamental system, force, length, and area, as my fundamental unit? No, says Santosh. Santosh says no. Why Santosh no? See, answer is not important. Hanak also says no. Why? Answer is not important. Important is the concept, the logic behind it. Please answer my answer. Please answer my question. What is the logic behind your no? It's easy to say no. Length and area are same. Santosh, they are not same, but they can be derived from each other. So please, F is equal to A by T. Hanak? F is equal to A by T? No, F is not equal to A by T. Not, yeah, area can be, yes, Kruti is very correct. Kruti coming into the picture for the first time and behaving like an actress. Yes. Area can be derived from length. So area will be equal to length squared, and these two units are derived from each other. We cannot use them in a fundamental system. Am I clear? Am I clear with this concept? Okay, so if you are making a fundamental system, any two units or all the three units should be independent of each other. They should not be, we should not be able to derive any unit from the combination of other two or from its own combination. Am I clear with this point? Small points make a big difference in your life. Shall we move on to the, have you written this? Everyone written this? Clear, Santosh? So I'll just go by Santosh's feedback that is clear to everyone. If you have any doubt, please come up. I will clear them. Point number 3. Remember, beta, you will not find these things in any book that you ever come across or any teacher that you ever come across. These are my own inventions, right? Something I can call mine. This is mine. No one knows it. or even if they know, probably they don't teach. Point number three, point number three, point number three, point number three. What would be point number three? Hand up. What would be point number three? So we've discussed 2 points, 2 possibilities that should not happen. What is point number three? Point number three, anyone? Anyone, point number three. No more than 3 units should be taken. Chatur, I have already said that we'll take 3 units. So that is not a valid point. I've already said that we'll take only 3 units. Point number three, point number three, point number three. Point number three is all 3 units, all units, only for product, no beta. All units must have M, L, and T coming at least once. That means all 3 combined should have at least one M, at least one L, and at least one T. Because if I don't have ML and T, I cannot form the fundamental units from this system. Are you getting my point? For example, if I make a system, of velocity, length, and time. If I make a system of velocity, length, and time, it is wrong in 2 aspects. It is wrong in 2 aspects. What are the 2 aspects in which it is wrong? In 2 ways it is wrong. It cannot be formulated. In 2 ways it is wrong. What are the 2 ways in which it is wrong? The first way is V is equal to L by T. So they are not independent. The second is velocity has length LT minus 1, length has L, and T has time. There is no M, no mass. No mass, the system doesn't work. Am I clear with this, what I'm saying? Am I absolutely clear with what I have discussed over here? So at least one unit of each, mass, length, and time, should come to make the system work. So we have discussed 3 different points for this fundamental units. But Hinduja, we are not talking about temperature here. We are only talking about the first three fundamental units. If you take temperature, then there will be 4. Then they should have all the 4. Okay. So the first one is they should not be having the same dimension. Point number 2, they should not be derived from each other. They must be independent. Point number 3, 1 M, 1 L, and 1 T must be there. For example, if I have a system where I have force, length, and time, remember, see it carefully. If I have a system with force, length, and time, L gives L, T gives T. I'm missing an M, but I have force, so it gives M. So M is already there. It also gives me L. It also gives me T raised to the power minus 2. So I have a system where they cannot be derived from each other. At the same time, all the 3 quantities are there. So this type of system can exist. Am I absolutely clear with this? What type of fundamental system can exist and what type of fundamental system cannot exist? Shavya says correct. Any doubts, please raise. Else we will move on to solving some questions of the DTP. Karthik says no. So Karthik has a problem. Karthik is clear. Deepak says clear. Can you raise your hand? Satvika has raised her hand. Satvika, is there a problem anywhere? Satvika, is there a problem anywhere? Okay. Okay, so let's move on and solve some. Have we discussed the dimension analysis limitation? Do you all remember what are the limitation of dimension analysis? Remember that? Yes. So you just remember them and you can note them down. Let us now move to solving the questions of our DPP. Let me see, where is that? It's here. Okay. So this is DPP number 1. As you can see, this is DPP number 1. I hope many of you would have solved this DPP. We'll discuss these questions in short and see what answers do we have here. Okay, so which of the following sets, okay, the first question is based on what we have just discussed. Which of the following sets cannot enter into a list of fundamental quantities in any system of units? Chatur already has an answer. Option B. Tanu also says option B. B says Santosh. D says Shravya. Length, time and mass. Length, time and mass is MLT beta. It's the fundamental system. Sai Dashak says B. Sanvi says B. All of us say B. So please, all of you who has said B, please raise your hand so that I can see. B, 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 B. Everyone is B, 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 B. Santosh says B. 5 participants raise hand. 7. Very good. 8, 10, 11, 12. Great, 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 great. 14. Great. Great. We already crossed 240 chat messages. Very good. So the answer is B. And we know the logic behind it. The logic is length and time. If you divide length by time, you will get velocity, not independent. Gone. That is the answer. Point B. Yes, Chaturya, V is equal to L by T. That's the question. We all got it? Great. So you have done one question. That takes us to question number 2. What is question number 2? Let me open it here also so that I can see it here. Yes, it's here. Where it has gone. Okay, question number 2. Which of the following is a dimensionless quantity? We have already discussed it so many times. It never has a unit. It always has a unit. May have a unit. Does not exist. Does not exist. Hinduja says C. It may have a unit. Dimensionless quantity may have a unit. Okay, interesting answer. Santosh says A. How many of you are with A? I see lots of A coming in. Lots of A coming in. Lots of A coming in. Everyone says A. It never has a unit. Great, great. Shravya also says A. Everyone says A. And to everybody's surprise, the answer is C, which only one student got. Who was her? Let me go back and check. Who was her? 250 messages. Too many messages. Who was the one who said the C? C. Hinduja said C. And C is the right answer. C. This is a trap question. We call it trap question. The question traps you. A dimensionless quantity may have a unit. Can you give an example, Hinduja? You said yes. You said C. What is the example? What made you say C? What made you say C? Sterin. Sterin, what is sterin, Hannah? There are two angles, beta. Plane angle and solid angle. There are two angles. Now these two angles, plane angle and solid angle, they do not have any dimension. They are ratios, but they have a unit. Plane angle has radian. That is a unit. It is a dimensionless quantity, but it has a unit. Solid angle is also a dimensionless quantity, but it is also got a unit. So this was a trap question, and the funny part is everyone got trapped apart from Hinduja. A dimensionless quantity may have a unit. Examples are the two, only two examples. The two supplementary units, radians and steradians. Am I clear with this? Am I clear with the concept and clear with the answer? A dimensionless quantity can also have a unit. Clear, sir? Everyone got trapped, sir? Don't fall into trap. These are the trap that will cost you your question. Shall we move ahead? So this is the solution. See, angle is dimensionless, but it has a unit. That is the answer. That takes us to the next question. Question number 3. Please. Question number 3. Please read the question properly and give me the answer. A unitless quantity. Again, a trap question. Unitless quantity. Option number 1, never has a non-zero dimension, always has a non-zero dimension, may have a non-zero dimension, does not exist. A unitless quantity, a quantity which does not have any unit. What is the correct option? Everyone is saying A again. Is it a trap question? Is it a trap question? A. Anyone with no fundamental quantities involved? Yes. So what is the answer for question number 3? Let's see. It's not here in the sheet. So a unitless quantity never has a non-zero dimension. That is what we are saying, correct? Okay. It's going from here. Okay, I got it. Where was this? Okay. This is question number 4. This is question number 5. So the answer is, if there is no unit, that means it is even not an angle. So option A is saying never has a non-zero dimension, always has a non-zero dimension, may have a non-zero dimension, does not exist, which is clear, which is the right answer here. D. Why people are saying A here? Why are we saying A here? It's better that I change it from here to there. Just give me a moment, beta. Just change it. This is better to share it here. This is giving me trouble. Okay, yeah. So we are discussing question number 3. A unitless quantity. What about this unitless quantity? Yes, give me the answer. A unitless quantity never has a non-zero dimension. See, whenever you are encountered with such terms, you must carefully read the options, because the question is hidden in the option itself. It has zero dimension. So never has a non-zero dimension. What does that mean? Never has a non-zero dimension. Never has a non-zero dimension. Never has a non-zero dimension. So it always has a non-zero dimension. There are quantities which are ratios, beta. So these quantities will exist. Specific gravity is a quantity which exists, but it does not have a dimension. So the answer is it never has a non-zero dimension. Two negatives make a positive. Are you getting my point? So two negatives make a positive. So the first statement is saying that it always has zero dimensions. Am I clear? Am I clear? Shall I repeat? Yes. So basically, if I have a unitless quantity, let us say specific gravity. Let us say specific gravity. Yes, I'm repeating, beta. A unitless quantity is specific gravity. What is the dimension of specific gravity? It does not have any dimension. So the answer is no dimension. So Now look at option number 1. Never has non-zero dimension. So there are two negatives, never and non-zero. So it makes a positive. So the answer is not written straight away. It does not have dimension. The answer is not written in that way. It's written in negative. And that is why the question becomes confusing. So the answer is A. Am I clear? Am I clear? Two negatives make a positive. Yeah, so that was the confusing part. Some of you had said D. It does not exist. A unitless quantity exists. If you don't understand option number A, then you can look at the other options. Option number D says does not exist. It exists. Option number B says always has a non-zero dimension. It cannot have a dimension. May have a non-zero dimension. It may not have a non-zero dimension as well. So the only option that is left is option number A, never has a non-zero dimension. Am I clear? Clear with this? Okay. That takes us to question number 4. Now, in this question number 4, you have some terms which you might not have heard about, like impulse, Planck's constant, Young's modulus, moment of inertia. So you are not acquainted with this term, so we will leave this question. We jump on to question number 5. And can anyone give me the answer to question number 5? The velocity of water waves may depend on their wavelength, density of water, and acceleration due to gravity. The method of dimension gives the relation between these quantities. Which option is correct? A, B, C, D. So you have to find the answer. And how do you get it? It's very simple. You have to use dimensional analysis and get the answer here. So how are you going to get the answer using dimension analysis? This is one thing is velocity of water, wavelength is a length, density of water is rho. We have an answer here D. I don't know, beta. What is the answer here? I'll have to check. I'll have to solve it. I'll solve it. So how do we solve it? Very simply. Where is my share? Okay, let us solve this question. Okay, so what does the question say? Velocity depends on. So let us write K. What does this K stand for here? This K stands for numerical constant. Multiplied by the first thing is lambda, which is the wavelength raised to the power of A. The second thing is rho, which is density raised to the power of B. The third thing is acceleration due to gravity, which is raised to the power of C. Now, let's put the dimensions of velocity. L t minus 1 is equal to K does not have any dimension. What is the dimension of wavelength? Wavelength is a length, beta. Wavelength is a length. So it has dimensions of length. Length raised to the power of A. Density. You remember the dimension of density. It is mass divided by volume. So M divided by LQ. So it becomes ML minus 3. That is the dimension of length. ML minus 3 raised to the power of B. G is acceleration due to gravity. LT minus 2 raised to the power of C. So here we don't have any mass. So mass is raised to the power of 0. What are we going to do next? We are going to equate coefficients. How are we going to equate coefficients? First, we'll equate the coefficients of M. On the left hand side, M has a coefficient of 0. 0 is equal to, on the right hand side, it has a coefficient of B. So 0 is equal to B. Wow, we got it in the first step. B is 0. Now let us look at the dimensions of L, coefficients of L. On the left hand side, we have 1. On the right hand side, we have 1a minus 3b. So 1 minus 3b and 1c plus c. That was L. Then let us go into the dimensions of time, t. On the left hand side, we have minus 1. On the right hand side, we have minus 2c. Am I correct? So minus minus cancels. C becomes 1 by 2. C becomes 1 by 2. What about I missed A here. There was one A here. So C becomes 1 by 2. B is 0. C becomes 1 by 2. I can get the value of B. What is the value of B? Oh, sorry. I can get the value of A. What is the value of A? B is 0. C is half. You can put the values here in this equation and you can get the value of A. A is coming as 1 by 2. Someone told me, yes, I think it is correct. A will come as 1 by 2. I repeat the steps, how we have done it. First, I have written velocity in the form of powers. Then we have written its dimensions. And then we have equated the values of coefficients of M, L, and T. We got B as 0, A as half, and C also as half. So I can write V is equal to K into lambda into C. You can write it like this. Or we square both sides. V square is equal to, instead of K, you can write another constant K1, K square, K1, nothing doesn't matter, into lambda into G. So that becomes our final answer. V square is equal to K times lambda G. So the correct option is which one? B is the correct option, I think. Let me check it out from the sheet. Where is this option? This option is option number B. So that is how we got the value of B here. Am I clear with this? How we have achieved this answer? So as I said, we have done similar things that we have been doing throughout the class, and we get to the result. Now that takes us to the next question, which is question number 5. And what is question number 5? Let us go to question number 6. The value of gravitational constant is 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11. That is in SI units. What is the numerical value in CGS unit? So they want to convert SI unit into numerical SI unit into CGS1, and I already have an answer. Someone has said A. A is the answer. A. I hope you know it. So Newton has to be converted into Dian. I'll just write it. I'll just solve it so that you understand. So basically, what we got to do here for question number 6, 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11 Newton meter squared divided by kg squared. It has to be converted into Dian centimeter squared divided by gram squared. There are two ways to do it, Anushri. You can straight away go from Newton to Dian, or convert Newton into SI units, Newton into fundamental units, and Dan into fundamental units. Doesn't make any difference. You will get the same answer. We know the conversion factor of Newton into Dian. Don't we know it? How much? How can we convert Newton into Dian? So that will be easier for us to do. So 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11. How we convert Newton into Dian? How we convert Newton into Dian? Yes, but I'll send this note in the Telegram group. 10 raised to the power 5. Very good. 10 raised to the power 5. Then I have to convert meter into centimeter. So meter into centimeter is multiplied by 100. But please remember that it is squared. So it will be squared divided by kg has to be converted into grams. So it is divided by 1000. But again, it is squared. So it has to be squared. And this is our answer, whatever we get from here. And I think it will be divided by 1000. So the answer would be 10 raised to the power minus 8. Is that so? Or minus 6? What is the answer? You got the method, everyone? Minus 8. That's correct, beta. 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 8. And the unit is Dian centimeter square per gram squared. That is the answer to this one. So we have done DPP part 2, part 3, and the past year JEE questions DPP. We'll discuss it in the next class. Anyone has any doubts in what we have discussed today? Please come up. The time is over. We want to finish the class. So I'll finish the class now. If you have any doubts, please ask beta. Take care. Bye-bye.